Hello, this is Fabiana from Fabi Design Studio. Welcome. I am so happy that you're here. Today we're going to be learning everything about denim and lasers. We're going to be personalizing a denim jacket and we're going to be adding some elements to make something unique. I'll tell you everything about the materials I use and my recommendations to have the easiest time doing this project. All right. So what you're going to need is, of course, your denim piece. I'm going to be using a denim jacket, and I also have this pair of pants where I usually test my settings. You're also going to need magnets. Whenever you put your denim piece on the laser bed, you put those on the side so it doesn't move around. Since fabric is a little bit thin or it just could move with the air that is generating inside, you just don't want that to move. You're also going to need a measuring tape to measure the area where you're going to be placing your vinyl if you want to add vinyl to it, or the area where you're going to be just engraving. I will be using also laser safe iron-on vinyl. You don't want to put any vinyl in your laser because you can ruin it completely. You have to make sure it is a special vinyl that is laser safe. No PVC in it and some other materials that could damage your laser. You're also going to need a heat press. I'm going to be using an automatic heat press, but you can use any type of heat press. There's the smaller ones, there's bigger ones, depending on your piece. I will also be using a Teflon sheet, so whenever I place my iron on, you can just repress it and not damage the vinyl that's already on your piece. You're also going to need a lint roller to prepare your piece before adding any vinyl on it or before starting engraving. I will also be using my iPad. That's what I use every time I'm going to be working with my laser. I also have a computer, but I just find it more practical to work from my iPad. The designer program that I use is Affinity Designer. It's pretty similar to Adobe Illustrator, so you can use either one, whatever you feel more comfortable with. I just love Affinity Designer because to me it was more simple to learn how to use, and also the good thing about that is that you don't have to be paying a monthly subscription to be able to use it. You just pay a one-time payment and it's yours forever. All right, so let's get going. All right, so first we're gonna be measuring our denim jacket or denim piece that you're gonna be working with. For these, I have this measuring tape. I'm gonna be using the inches size, and I want to add some personalization on the top part. So we're gonna measure the top part to see what's the best size for my words. Now for the sides, I will also be adding some decorations here. So I just want to make sure they all fit perfect. So we're gonna be doing the same thing. We're gonna measure the sides, which is about 3.25. I'm gonna be adding some flowers, so they shouldn't be bigger than 1 inch, maybe. If we do assorted sizes, we can even do 1.5. I'm not sure. We'll see how that looks. So we're going to be adding some flowers here and some flowers here. So now that we have our measurements, it's time to go to the iPad and set our design ready. All right, so this is what my design looks like, and I am going to show you exactly how I made it. I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new document, and I will select my presets for Glowforge, which already have the measurements that I need. They are in inches and they are 20 by 12, which is what my sheet measures. So I am going to select the text tool and I'm going to type in my text. I was thinking maybe adding my daughter's name, but then there's a lot of hipsters out there, so I just decided to put something different. I will go ahead, and this is the hardest part for me. I'm going to select the font type that I want. I was thinking maybe using something like college looking. I saw this image on another platform showing this super cute design, so I kind of want to make something similar to that. And for this is very important. I'm gonna try to use the measurements that I had from measuring my denim jacket, and I will make the text that size to be sure it fits perfectly in the space that I measured. So after typing in my text, I will duplicate it and I am going to type the second part of it. So I wanted it to be a little bit smaller from the previous text because it's gonna be fitting right in the bottom part of the jacket, right in the center. And that area goes a little bit like this. So I would just wanna make sure everything fits perfectly. Once I have my text ready, then I will go ahead, and since we're going to be layering 2 vinyls, I am going to duplicate my text to be able to create that super nice effect. One thing is, whenever you're using text in your designer program, I always convert it to curves because that is kind of like vectorizing the text. So it's not going to be a text anymore, it's going to be a single element. That is going to help us to keep the resolution and to be able to show the laser in an easier step. So once I have all my text converted to curves, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate so I can create that second layer of vinyl. After I duplicate my text, I'm going to select the contouring tool, which is only going to create an offset of the text that we are using, and it's not gonna distort or it's not gonna change anything. It's just literally gonna create an outline on the text, and that is what we are going to use as a second step. It's going to be one of the layers of the vinyl, and then the actual text that now is a curve is going to be the other color of the vinyl. So once we are ready, we are going to proceed and do the offset, which is contour tool here in my designer program. Once I have the thickness that I want, I will go ahead and change it to the actual shape that we're gonna use. For that, we're gonna go back to our menu and we are going to select the option add. That is going to make it a single element, so it's easier for our laser to read, and we are going to only show the outline to also tell our laser that we are going to be cutting and not engraving. You can always change that directly in the app, in the Glowforge app, but I rather do everything here in the designer program to make everything smoother and easier. Sometimes it's just more simple to do everything through here. As you see here, I am using a different color for the outline and for the inner part to tell my laser that it's two separate steps, and I can just select different options in the app. Like if I wanted to score, engrave, I mean, they're both going to be cut, but I'd rather do it separate so I don't have to erase or move elements whenever I have to change materials, because we're going to be using two different vinyls. So go ahead and change the colors again. Red for the outer part, green for the inner part. Once I'm done, I will go ahead and export my project. Here I am using these flowers that I previously had already converted as vectors, and you can always either create your own or you can buy just the clip art online. I am going to use those for engraving. So as you can see, there are different colors. They have the lighter blue, which is going to show my laser, like I previously mentioned, that it's a separate step. That is way easier than doing everything directly through the laser's app. Once I am ready, like I was saying, I'm going to go ahead and export that. I usually use PDF. Don't ask me why. I just think, I don't know, I always started doing PDF, but you can always save it as an SVG. And I'm going to change the name, and I'm going to select just selection only, which is gonna remove all the background or other elements that I could have that I don't want to be using. So I will select every single element that I'm going to use for this design, and I'm going to choose selection only. Once I have it ready, I type in my name so I don't lose my project, and I save it. After that, everything should be ready, so we can just transfer it to our Glowforge app. Since I want to make sure everything comes out good, I'm going to be testing with this old pants first. I'm sure that with the right scissors this would have been a lot easier, but I was just using the first ones I found. Remember, I always test my settings, even if they are the settings that I usually use. Even if it's the same material I always use, it could change thickness, it could change everything in a matter of inches. So always test your settings, and this is the reason why we're going to be using this denim short. We previously put our denim jeans in the laser bed, so now we're just going to be placing our elements. I'm going to use only one flower because this is a testing, so I don't want to waste all my time doing tests. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna select the measurements, and I believe it was just 1 inch that we said it was the perfect size, so we're gonna do that. And once it is in place, we are going to select our previous denim jacket, denim settings, which are 1000 speed, 17 precision power, and 225 lines per inch, just one pass. fast. Those are the settings that I have been using for denim. Like I said before, you will have to test a little part depending on the material that you're using, or depending on the piece that you're using, because one denim could be thicker than another one. So always test a smaller portion of it before you go ahead and do the whole project, because fabric burns if you do it too high. You don't want your fabric to break, you don't want your fabric to burn. So always make sure to test it, and we are going to do that over here. As you see, also I place the magnets to hold my piece in place. Like I mentioned before, we don't want the air that generates inside the machine to move the fabric and potentially create a fire. So we always have to be very, very careful with the materials that we are trying, that we're testing, especially if they are not proof grade materials, or if they are materials that you don't usually put in a laser. It's very important that you are watching your machine, that you are right next to it, that you are there just in case anything happens, because accidents happen. I sped up the process here so you could see how well it is looking right now. It is engraving, and you can definitely see the element that we are placing on our denim. And once we are ready, we're gonna take off all of our magnets, and we are gonna flip the piece just to make sure that we didn't burn through. If we see that our laser burning your material, definitely increase the speed. We are going to remove the laser bed just because the jacket is a little bulky with the sleeves and the neck and everything, so we just don't wanna hit our laser head, which will definitely affect our laser. So we're gonna remove the laser bed, and we're going to add some material underneath. We are gonna make sure we don't add too many or too little for our laser to work properly with the material that we're using. We are going to place our magnets to keep our denim jacket in place, and for these we're gonna use our Nomad measuring tool. Every time you remove your laser head, this is a tool that you need to make sure everything is in the proper height. We are going to focus on the check mark in the middle. That is our safe zone. The arrows above, that means that you went too high. The arrows below, that means that you are too low. You have to be in between the lines where the big check mark is. I also added some painter's tape just to keep our fabric straight. Just pull the fabric and make it as straight as possible. Then we're gonna go back to our app, and we're going to place our elements where we want them. I had them a little bit too small, so I went ahead and changed the measurements back to 1 inch, and then we are ready to go. This should be taking about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. We see how our laser is working super fast because we sped this up. But then we are ready for our next step, which is going to be adding our vinyl. We are using laser safe vinyl. Please be super careful. Any other type of vinyl will damage your machine, could cause a fire, could damage your lungs. Make sure you're using the appropriate material, and everything should work properly. We are using this proof grade material, so the settings are already there. We selected our gold and pink Glowforge iron on, and our settings are obviously set in the app. So after that, we are using our lint roll to remove any dust, anything from the fabric, so we can place our vinyl and we don't have any bubbles or anything that it's making it look bad. So after that, we place our letters to make sure everything fits in place, and then we are ready to start using our heat press. I first was gonna use my automatic heat press, but then the first time I pressed it down, I noticed that the fabric wrinkled because it's way too bulky, and instead of making it flat and ready for the vinyl, it was making creases, and that wasn't working. So I ended up using my manual mini heat press, and that actually worked perfectly. I am using here some heat resistant tape because we don't want our letters to move around. Since I cut each entire element separately, I didn't want to use not transfer tape, but I just didn't want to weave the material, so that is a better and easier way to do it. So the tape is going to keep it in place so I can actually go ahead and use my heat press and nothing moves around. Once I applied enough pressure, not too much, perfect temperature, that will depend on the material that you're using. If you're going to use a certain type of vinyl, there's a certain temperature that you will have to use. Also, depending on the heat press, you will have to do some research on what are the best settings for that. And after we are done applying heat to the first step, we're going to do the same to the rest of the letters, and we're going to use the Teflon sheet so we do not damage the previous vinyl that we had already applied. I think I read that you're supposed to remove this masking when your print is cold, but I found it easier to do it while it was still a little bit warm. It did cause for the previous layer to lift up a little bit, but that we can always fix using the Teflon sheet again to heat press again the parts that probably came off. You also got to do it super carefully so you don't damage the print, because even if you're adding heat again, if you move the vinyl, you could generate creases and it's just not gonna look nice. So we are going to do all that same process for the second part of the text, and always making sure everything is in place. We're gonna use our tape again to have everything without moving, as we are using a manual heat press and the coming back and forth could move the pieces around. So we just want everything to be perfectly placed. Our Teflon sheet again, because that is what's gonna guarantee us that the previous layer of vinyl is not gonna get damaged, wrinkled, or is gonna burn. We apply the right amount of pressure, the right amount of heat, and you can always move the Teflon sheet back and forth since you're using it manually. If you're using an automatic heat press, then that'll be different. You'll have to pull it out, check, and see if the vinyl stick to your fabric. Once we are sure everything is in place and it's pressed on the fabric and the previous vinyl layer, we are ready to remove all the masking. Like I said, we do it while it's still a little warm because that's what's been working for me. And we have our denim jacket ready. We are going to do another pass with the Teflon sheet just to be sure that everything is really ironed on the fabric and we don't have any lifting. Eventually it's gonna happen with the time that happens with vinyl, but the more you take care of your jacket, the longer it's gonna last you. Washing it, drying it the proper way will keep your vinyl safe and in place. And I think this turned out absolutely beautiful. I hope you enjoy this project as much as I enjoyed making it. I think it's a really cool way to transform a single and basic piece into something very unique. I know my daughter is gonna love this. I wish she was here so she could try it on, but we'll have to wait. And I really love the look it gives, the difference between the engraving and the vinyl, and the many ways that you can personalize denim using a laser. You will be able to find this digital file that I used for this project. It's going to be included together with a PDF and all my tested settings that you will find very helpful. Those are settings that I have been testing for many years, and that you know how much time it could take you to experiment. Well, those are ready for you to try to use them. And of course, always do a little test before using your entire material. But those are tested by me and they have worked for me amazingly. So I hope you really enjoy them. I hope you really use them and they are helpful to you. We'll also include an amazing bundle of PDFs if you join the All Access Pass, and you will find there my favorite SVGs. You can just put in your printer and they are ready to go. There's a huge community of amazing creators out there showing you different projects so you can see a little bit of the many things that you can achieve with your laser. I hope you join it and you find everything in there super helpful. I also invite you to visit my Instagram, which is Fabi Design Studio. You will find there many tips and tricks and all my journey with the lasers and many things that I have learned along the way. Feel free to follow, and if you have any questions ever, feel free to ask. I am here for this. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you love the project and we'll see you next time.